That means that you can invest as much or as little in our ecosystem and derive all of the benefit of crypto products, which is growing in value, with all of the certainty of investing in real estate. That's what it means. So you have the power to invest with the security of real world assets backing what we are doing through purchasing our token. Simply put, you invest as much or as little as you want, and you're secured by real world assets that's all recorded on the chain. Come to our website when we launch, and you'll see it, I'm sure. And then the choice is entirely up to you. But our model is all about providing the same opportunity that has until now really been available to professional, sophisticated investors, institutional investors, to anybody willing to partake in supporting us building out this ecosystem.
Welcome to the King Dems podcast, where business leadership meets growth mindset mastery and smart financial strategies for growth and success. Subscribe, like, comment, and share this great podcast with your network. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay up to date for new episodes.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. You once again welcome to the King Dems podcast and Diary of a CFO. And today I've got with me fighting out of London, England. Make welcome, Chris Baldrey-Chourio. How are you, Chris?
Hey, I'm really good. Thank you. Really, really good. Good to continue the conversation. And it's a
brother.
I'm on.
I was tempted to almost say Chris BC.
Yeah, let's get past
He
that.
just makes it easy. He just makes it easy. You know, I'm really glad, having you. I'm very, very happy having you on the podcast today. And,
thank you.
I've got two podcasts, right? The King Dems podcast and Diary of a CFO.
Yeah.
And the best guests you can ever have are the guests that are able to, be on both platforms. So, come on. No wonder
I'm grateful.
You called. No wonder you called BC. BC could mean Baldrey-Chourio, but to me, BC is a bi champion because he can be on two podcasts.
Perfect.
So sit back, relax, and of course, let me read out your introduction. So today on the podcast, we are joined by a true innovator, redefining the future of money and property. Chris BC, if you like, is the CEO and founder of ConstructCoin, an AI and blockchain-powered real estate finance platform disrupting a 280 USD trillion global industry. So from his military background to building an AI protocol that reduces loan approvals by 95%, Chris is pioneering one of the boldest token pre-sales in history, aiming for $100 billion in sustainable growth. With a real asset backing, visionary, be the bank philosophy, and operations spanning the UK, British Virgin Islands, and Dubai, Chris is here to unpack the intersection of AI, blockchain, and real estate, and how it can change the financial future of everyday people. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in and make welcome again, Chris BC, to the show.
Wow.
Now
I'm still celebrating that introduction. Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much. That is what we are doing for sure. It's really topical at the moment, certainly in the UK. I think housing and housing provision and the finance around it is a huge thing globally, but in the UK it's really, really topical. So yeah, thank you for that intro. Let's get into it. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Let's get it. The party started. Your journey is actually taking you from the British Army to property development, consumer goods, and of course now fintech innovation. So what were some of the key mindset shifts that prepared you for this
journey? Yeah, so look, I think it's really difficult to articulate the chronological order of all of this, right, really concisely, but life has been a journey, as it is for all of us, right? And I think I first got into property development and property early stage property finance as the first part of my career, learning about structuring deals and refinancing mortgages and self-build mortgages in the UK. And I think that the entrepreneurial streak in me was really set alight when I discovered ways of using the banking system to generate wealth through the acquisition of property and land. I was too young to really embrace that opportunity and fully understand it. And having built some foundations academically, professionally for a couple of years, I learned a huge amount about the industry, but I wasn't quite ready for the execution. And I still had this athletic mindset that pulled me into a different direction of self-improvement and this better version of myself, which just led me to elitism in the military, I think, and pursuing a part of that, which was part of my boyhood, as most young men have, this desire to play with big trucks, big toys, big loud toys, and embrace that as a part of my life that I felt I needed to just satisfy without really considering what that really meant until I actually started doing it. And there was a paradigm shift in my mindset, which was consolidating a lot of that early years learning and that entrepreneurial flair that I'd sparked, and that gave me the confidence to step outside of that military world, take that first step on a new journey, and fire up that entrepreneurial desire that I had to translate that into opportunity that started to build a foundation for my life and what subsequently followed.
Reality is different from daydreaming. But when you talk about these big toys, when it becomes real, it's a different ball game. But something I appreciate about you is the fact that you are, what I say, when they say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If that saying was a person, you should be like an embodiment of that saying. You are like the poster boy of that saying, actually. And of course, you've actually spoken about how failures have actually helped to shape your path. Can you share, if you wish, one or two setbacks that became turning points for your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so let me show you something that we didn't talk about, that is a story that's I'm quite comfortable sharing now, but it's quite close to my heart because quite early in my early years. This might make some of your listeners laugh, if not you. But when I was...
I can laugh at the drop of a needle.
So my
difficult to make laugh.
My mom is from South America, right? My mom brought us up, in a very humble space, my sister and I. And my mum had this thing, as most mums do, about losing keys and what to do if you lose your keys, right? So that stereotype, you lose your keys, every lock in your house, but up and down the street needs to be changed, let alone your own house, right? And I had an incident after one day at school where I was on my bike, put my hand in my pocket as I was talking to some friends, pull my hand out of my pocket, and my keys literally slow motion hit the bike frame and fell to the floor. But as they fell to the floor, I was above a storm drain. It literally landed on one of the thongs of the rail and just rolled into the storm drain and dropped down to the bottom of the storm drain. I was just watching this in slow motion, thinking, "Oh my God, oh my God!" And I thought to myself, "What am I going to do?" And of course, I went home that night and explained to my mum that the keys I'd lost had fallen down the drain. She just didn't believe it. She just was not having it. And of course, I knew. How do you make someone believe that your keys are in the drain unless they're there and saw it, let alone your own mum, right? And I knew the panic. I could see the panic in her face on setting that she was going to change every lock in the house. She was going to change, even though, let's think about this rationally. Your keys don't have an address on it. There's no identifier to your specific house or who they belong to. So even if I had dropped them on the street and someone picked them up, no one's going to know they're my keys or that they belong to our property, right? So here's the thing, and the panic set in.
It's the paranoia.
Bro, unbelievable, right? And we laugh about this today, but at the time it was like, I need to get those keys. So I jumped back on my bike and I rode back to the road that was on around the corner from my school. And all I could think of using at the time was a bottle. I think it was a bottle of Coke, plastic bottle of Coke, I can't remember. I knocked on a door, got some scissors and cut it open. I didn't tell them what I was doing. I was just saying, "Look, could you please help me? Because I've lost my keys, blah, 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 blah." I lifted the storm drain up and then I started emptying this drain. I'm just going to say to you, this started at probably 4:15, 4:30 at 1 that morning, that morning. I finished, I'd emptied the drain. My dad had come over. He didn't live with us. My dad had come over and had come to where I was. He had some dry cleaning in the car. I'd literally emptied this storm drain and he'd helped me at that point. He was holding me upside down because I was not leaving. I was not leaving until I'd pulled the keys out of that drain. and I'd scrape the sediment off the drain. Anyway, the moral of the story is that he hung me upside down. I'd used a coat hanger to scrape the bottom of the drain. It'd taken best part of 6-7 hours to empty it, and I finally pulled the keys out. And that moment, I sort of picked the keys up and went, "There's my keys." That was a defining moment for me. I didn't realize at the time, but I remember years later, my dad saying to me, there's a determination in you that's a rare quality because you were determined to prove that,
Yeah.
those keys were there, right? And so that's a quality that stayed with me. And whenever I've faced a situation, whether it's athletically, whether it's anything to do with, just needing to get stuff done, that has always been one of the few reminders in my life that if you're absolutely certain, you just need to go, you just need to get it done, finish whatever it takes, just get it done. So that is definitely a theme. And then the other bit is just that self-belief. You've got to back yourself. You absolutely have to back yourself, and you have to surround yourself with people who believe in what you're doing, but also have the strength of character to believe in themselves. And, taking those steps is
Absolutely.
a mixture of things, but just get it done. Fundamentally, just get it done.
I love this story. It basically aligns with the theme of the Kingdoms podcast. The theme of the Kingdoms podcast is growth mindset, leadership, and business insights, right? And I always love me a guest that aligns with the theme of the podcast. I set out to do just two things: to educate and to motivate. If I have those two things done, I think my job is done.
Yeah,
right?
we're
And
winning.
I'm grateful to have people like you do the job for me.
Talking about how determined we are to find our keys, right? But let me tell you something. Anyone that knows
Telling you.
Anyone that knows about South American mums will understand the significance of that event in my life in terms of keeping the peace. But I think, as with all things, sometimes you just need to take the first step, and the journey of life is one of learning, right? We have to embrace every task as an opportunity. We learn from our mistakes. If we fail, if we get things wrong, just pick yourselves up and go again. You have to fail in order to learn. This idea that everything's going to be perfect is just a myth. The world just isn't like that, right? And the world today, especially with technology, will make you think that everything is shiny, everything's going to go perfect. It's just not what it is. But you have to go through adversity, to appreciate, but also to achieve. No outcome is possible without some level of work ethic, some level of commitment, some level of I want to say anxiety, but that's probably not the right word, but you just have to commit. You just have to commit in every task. And I think this has probably been a consistent challenge for me throughout the years is finding your focus and finding the things that you're passionate about. And I think that passion is your fuel. But if you can enjoy what you do, if you can be happy at what you do.
Passion is very, very important.
It's no longer a task.
Important.
It's no longer a task. So then you just think about what you're chasing and why, and where are the priorities and all of that. And that's the analogy. Sometimes it's just about doing things right. Sometimes it's about doing what needs to be done. And most of all, it's about doing things properly. And I think people embrace that, people respect that, people lean towards that and adopt that in their own mindsets. And if that's something that people can take away from being around you, that's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The very last thing you said, if that's something people can pick from you, that's, really a great thing. I remember like recently, I think a few months ago, like an ex-colleague of mine called me, and guess what? They said, this lady was like, "Oh, wow, Ademola, I'm really, really proud of you." And I'm like, "Oh, why?" She was like, "Oh, the way you have built your podcast from ground, to a globally, recognized brand. Like, it's really amazing. I see your hard work. I see your consistency." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." So people look, right? People see you building. And guess what? This person was like, "I need to come take a master class from you to learn how to be consistent." And I'm like, "Excuse me, like there are certain things I don't think you really can teach a person. Like, how do you teach a person consistency?"
It's contagious, right? Growth mindset is contagious, and success breeds success. And there's an alchemy that attracts when you're doing things right. I think when you're doing things properly, and and I think that that's one of the beauties of humanity is that we shine as human beings when we're doing things properly. And I think that aspiration is in us all. It's in us it's the right and wrong thing. It's about understanding, that you can do things better and that you can be better. And that applies to so much in life. It's a central theme of everything that we're doing at the moment. And I say I'm the CEO of Constructco and I'm leading execs in the business, but there's a few of us and we all have that same mindset. It's how do we do things better properly, but do it humbly. We don't need to be shouting off the rooftops about what we're doing because we're doing it, but it doesn't mean we can't take pride and talk about it and be our own advocates. But I think there's a real subtle difference. And I think
if you don't blow your trumpet, who's going to blow for you?
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. But when people take note and recognize those things, that's a really endearing moment. So I think for you to have people speaks a lot.
A very, very endearing moment because like it's crazy. And somebody called me one time. I was like, well, I see the work you do. Like I see you have posted without fail every week. And it's crazy how this person told me that the only time I saw that you took a break was in January this year and you did not post for 2 weeks. And when you came back, I saw that you rebranded your podcast. And I was like, wow. So people actually notice. And this is somebody that doesn't even post a single comment on any of the platforms, but they're telling me what exactly I am doing. I'm like, wow.
You got a real fan, raving fan. That's a good book to read, by the way.
Note, brother.
That's a great book to read. I highly recommend Raving Fan, right? And about customer service and the importance of valuing your customer base and making them really feel that value, not in a transactional way. Like we were talking about how software companies tend to operate today. There's a process, the perception of customer service, but the depth just isn't there. It really isn't. It's all about the
customer service.
Yeah,
that's a whole podcast on its own. That was episode 100 of my podcast with a guy here in the UK, Johan Diaz, right? We delved into customer service and customer experience. I think guys go watch it, and of course, it's a really great watch. It's crazy how customer experience is in this age and time, right? You and me could go to the same restaurant and have different experiences, right? However, the companies, especially these software companies these days, think they can create an experience and push it on you. No. And they have a false sense of customer service, especially these guys who just take your money and force you to interact with AI chatbots.
A process.
That is the most annoying thing. That's the most annoying thing that has ever happened in human history, in my opinion. I stand to be corrected.
Ultimately, it doesn't lead to a great brand experience, right? And it doesn't lead to you being an advocate of that brand or the experience you've just had. That's the thing, right? And I think that when we talk about society and where the change needs to happen to reflect where we want to be rather than where we are, it's about the commercial narrative around a lot of what happens today and how things are delivered, communicated, the access to information, how that information is transmitted and the passage of that information. I think there's some fundamental flaws in the progression that we've made in the last 20 years that have shaped the mindset of people and what they think is right and wrong in circumstances. And that transaction, be that physically or digitally, has captured a lot of those errors and turned it into a process which just isn't acceptable when you're talking about how you should engage. And don't get me wrong, there's a time for parameters. And yes, every business has a right to generate a profit, but the experience and value in the people that enable you to generate that profit is a key part of it. And I think once that shift is addressed, then there's the follow-up of that is how does that translate to the world we live in and the society that we're building. And for us in Constructco and the initial product and actually the application is the output of what we're creating and the shaping of society through the communities that we build, through the houses that we're building and the living space that we're creating in the developments, and how people value that living space, how people engage with that living space, and it's a mindset shift that starts at home, and the transaction.
Charity begins at home,
but it's where it starts, right? And how you live determines how you start your day. How you engage with the rest of the world. So customer service is a huge subject. The mindset of commercial operations for customer service, for profit. How do businesses engage? Well, that's about the fabric of society today. It really is. And I think when we talk about what we're building and what we want to do, it's about how to change, how to create opportunity, how to get people plugged back into valuing their communities, their living space, and changing the way that they engage with the world, because you don't feel that you need to take all the time. You can give back. You can feel that there's purpose. You're invested in your space. You're invested in the asset that is yours. All these things are connected, and they shape our outlook and how we and how we innovate, how we grow, and how we go about achieving those things.
One thing I'm really happy with what you guys are doing is the fact that you are merging AI and blockchain to revolutionize real estate. Have you taken a look at my initials?
Yes.
So what are my initials?
Well, AI.
Take away the O. What do you have?
Well, AI. Go on, break it down for me.
That's AI, brother.
I'm
AI.
saying, I saw that. I know that. But you're not the artificial intelligence. I'm sitting there waiting for the moment I've missed.
Whatever you think. My parents did the right thing. They knew, over 30 years ago that this guy is going to be special.
You were going to start thinking for all of us. Yeah. So with all this stuff, Adam, it's communities with that living space, right? And we were just talking about customer service, because that's a representation of people's mindsets and a representation of society as a whole, which is basically about I've got to get the money. The focus is shifted to just getting the money, when it really should just be about how are we bettering what we have, how are we creating opportunity, how are we empowering the younger generation to plug into the future, to feel invested in developing themselves and the world that they live in, or the part of the world that they live in, not just about taking. And we really believe that starts at home. And that starts in the living space that belongs to yourself, that belongs to the broader community that live around you. You're all invested in that. You're all looking after that. You all value that, and then you set yourself another goal, which is about how do I do more of this? And everyone has different ambitions in life, right? But for those that want to be builders and creators, it just lays the foundations of your thought process. It changes your sentiment to a degree. And I think that the utility that we see in AI, in the opportunity to accelerate housing through rapid access to finance for developers, the opportunity to create an ecosystem whereby we are able to give token holders, investors, the opportunity to invest as much or as little as they want in this ecosystem so they can be the bank. It's not just a set of words. It's a very thought through mindset that you're opening up what has been a closed door opportunity to anyone that will partake, where jurisdiction, regulatory requirements will allow you to. When we are creating tools that enable the reshaping of an entire ecosystem within an industry, from the finance to the build to the services aspect, so the sales and letting, all the way through to the real world utility of that living space, how that can generate income, how that house can look after you, or that property can look after you in a way, and how you can part own or own in full. There's so many different opportunities for people vested in what we call the homes of the future. And it starts with finance, So looking at that holistically.
Absolutely. It starts with finance.
It starts with finance, but looking at it holistically, it's just creating the opportunity for everyone to be as involved as much or as little as possible. Houses will come and go. The land that property is built on will change. There'll be developers today that aren't here tomorrow, and there'll be developers that stand the test of time. But the one consistent theme in all of that, from people that are making money to people that aren't making money, is the entities that have provided that infrastructure, and that's the banks. And that's been a consistent theme for a very, very long time. And that creates a huge, sets the foundation for quite an imbalance. So what we're creating through the world of digital currency and crypto is the opportunity for that imbalance to reset, albeit on a much smaller scale, but it's still an opportunity for it to reset, for people to partake who want to partake. And as a direct consequence of that, you're creating an entire new infrastructure for living, as well as industry advancement and development within real estate across the board. So the mindset that I'm referring to, the commercial mindset, is yes, every business has a right to make a profit. It's just what we're in business for. But it's about doing things properly. And what are the implications of that business's operations on the ecosystem that you operate within? And if you're today, we have to be doing good for society. We have to be doing good for the environment, for the economy. You know, these are all responsibilities of business leaders today. Energy efficiency, energy sustainability, as well as wealth generation, you know, not just for a small few, for the masses or anyone that wants to partake. And in doing so, you're also creating opportunity because you're building businesses that employ people. You're contributing to the economy through the traditional taxation systems and so on and so forth. But people have to be invested in that growth. And that's a big thing for us. So when I talk about, you know, as you highlighted, that sort of that principle of customer service, that really does just highlight the really thunderous noise of what is wrong with society today. That this is a part of creating a momentum of changing. And we're not the only people doing that. I think that the decentralized world, there's a lot of that mindset. It's about spreading the wealth and creating innovation and speeding up the pace of innovation and opportunity in different parts of the world through the movement of data and information. All these things are highly relevant, right? But that's our for our contribution. That's where our flag is in the sand. And I think that a lot of what I've done and seen in my early years and my sort of military experience just really highlighted the need, as I have felt exposed to this opportunity to partake and have the confidence to take those steps and start that journey.
I appreciate you talking about how the landscape of the finance world globally is changing, especially with decentralized finance. We're seeing a new trend and, of course, a new financial culture taking shape, albeit it might be slow, right, due to certain traditional resistance, but over time we will see that wholesale change happen on a global scale. You and your team have actually introduced a 100 face token, a pre-sale model, right? And of course, something no other crypto project has attempted. Why is this bold approach taken, and how does it protect against the pump and dump cycles that we have seen in the crypto world, especially with meme coins?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to separate past from present, and some of the smoke and mirrors products and projects that exist in that sort of digital currency world.
Those meme coins are annoying, brother.
Bro, I still don't understand meme coins, frankly speaking. I mean, if people want to invest in stuff, that's their prerogative, right? And they exist for a reason. But the proposition, just to answer the first question, so we're in a 100 phase pre-sale. We're not actually the only people to do that. We're probably the first to really clearly articulate the plan. But within that, there's actually quite a few milestones, right? So the first one is obviously our launch and talking about how we have consolidated the activity off-chain to provide this security for token holders on-chain. Now, one critical part of all of this is that every development that we're engaged with provides the security to our token holders. So first and foremost, today we have just over 13.5 million on-chain and in security. There is another, I can't quote the full number, but that's going to ramp up quite significantly with some deals that have been executed through the pre-launch phase recently. And the purpose of that initial position is to establish our loan book to fund the developments we have in our deal flow right now with developers who have MVP'd our initial product, and we've been working with to roll this out, right? The second part of it is that I've been very vocal, as have members of my team in the traditional construction world, about what we're doing and what we're building in the southeast of England, specifically in terms of sustainable family homes. So that the narrative of a pump and dump, I think, can't really come anywhere near us, because we have a very clear roadmap. And what we're doing is demonstrating how we are pioneering change, as well as bringing about some pre-existing change in a consolidated fashion into living space in this part of the country, from the energy generation to the use of water filtration systems for efficiency, there's some real cool use cases in what we call a smarter home, as well as some of the stuff that will just appeal to tech native people who want to be connected to the latest bits and pieces that they use day to day in their home. And of course, with the phases of our pre-sale, that's set out over a period of time. So within that, we have our token generation event. We have our certainty that at a point in time in a not too distant future, we will be launching that token across exchanges, and token holders that have invested will see the appreciation of that token. And again, at all times, we're adding developments to provide the security to those tokens, as well as rolling out some of the other features and functionality that will exist in the protocol, which we're really excited about. So Construct Coin as a protocol is all about the network that we want to build, that we want to encourage other organizations to build within. And those things are the things that separate us from some of the horror stories that we hear about that have been and gone. And the truth is, when you look
Speaking of horror stories, I have a horror story for you.
and that's the thing, right?
Whoa,
So
that is Bio. I don't know if you heard of Bio. Have you heard of Bio, the
No.
coin for the pharmaceutical industry?
Go on, tell me about it.
That's a very horrible horror story. I did invest in that coin personally, but it was bonkers. So they claimed that they were meant to be that token to help with pharmaceutical research, medical research, and help to revolutionize the, pharmaceutical and medical industry. However, they got launched on Binance, and that coin only kept on falling. I don't know what it is right now, but I think it's next to nothing right now. It's crazy how some of these guys come up with interesting, fantastic, use cases, white papers, and they just go down the drain.
Yeah, look, and that's the thing, right? So you just hit the nail on the head. And what I was getting to is that the real world utility is, how does this business actually make money? Whether it's digitally or physically, how does it make money? Our token holders and our business is making money now. We were able to launch our on-chain protocol because of what we've established off-chain before we started our private round. And we are late in launching because we've been investing in technology, developing the MVP, because we've gone through all the trial and tribulation of early stage companies as we've been raising money to fund the developments that will provide the security to the ecosystem that we're building, and that has been a process which you've also learned some of the problems that we're trying to solve, in a way that we hadn't considered whilst we were scoping what the opportunity would be, in the early part of our journey. So, the real world utility, the real world assets behind what we're doing provide the community with security, right? But it's about how we then evolve. And going back to what I said at the beginning, it's a change that we want to bring about, that we want to execute. And there's 3 pillars to our protocol. The first one is AI in lending. And there's a regulatory route yet, which we haven't even got off the ground, which we will do in year 2 for retail. It's the AI in the sales and lettings process. So that speaks to disintermediation. So the transition of the traditional estate agent embracing AI technology. So that's about automation and efficiency, where we are trialing and developing the use case around the sale and letting of our own property developments. And then the third pillar is AI in a home. And how does a resident occupying a new home embrace that process in a really personalized, really thought through way, which is about, for example, programming hardware in the property for a personal experience, be that boilers, hot water temperatures, for example, climate control, be that energy efficiency through water or energy generated through photovoltaic technology around the development, and then being able to utilize that energy in some form of trading format, which speaks to the wallet we're launching and the ability to receive your credit in your wallet from the energy generated within your development. So the real world utility is about how we're changing the idea of a living space. And then the fundamental piece, which is the bit that we are also really excited about, which becomes a mainstream activity in the 4th pillar in the 2nd year of our launch, is the opportunity to embrace a different mindset for a generation of people who feel they're locked out of owning a home. and how we can offer a solution to home ownership that has only existed with social housing and the stigma of housing associations, and change the mindset for a generation of people who feel like they haven't been able to get on the property ladder, and to make that attainable, to make that achievable through the developments that we're funding and building. And that will also involve partnerships with many more developers, but we are working with a handful now in the Southeast to roll that out, to develop the use case, and then to take that to scale. So the UK government has a housing shortage of just under 1.5 million homes in the next 5 years, and the issue is not just about planning. Let's be real about that challenge. It's not just about the bureaucracy. It's about the funding. Critically, it's the elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
And there are many small, medium-sized businesses in the development market that can be a part of solving that problem. We're focusing on the ones that are able to meet our criteria via our appraisal tool in order to fund and build those developments, and at the same time roll out our motorhome initiatives to deliver some real tangible benefits. And at the end of that, as I say, it's making those units available to a demographic in society that may not have felt that they could even own a home. And of course, once people are able to embrace the opportunity of owning that asset and achieving that lifelong milestone, once that box is ticked, what else can they focus on? At the moment, there are many young people and middle-aged people that are paying rent every month and just burning that money and just have no hope for the future because they feel that money is just hand to mouth every month. And that's a mindset shift that has to change. And that is also what I was saying to you, what we were discussing earlier, is just the mindset of corporations where it's just about chasing that profit with no regard for society. So our community, our protocol, the movement that we want to create is how do we rebuild literally from the bottom up? And that needs to be financed. But those 4 pillars are the very basics of the mechanism that we're creating within ConstructCoin. And underpinning all of that is the technology estate, the on-chain activity that builds the integrity for us to enable other businesses to innovate on our chain when we get to that point. And that speaks to the latter part of our roadmap, which is how we evolve as an organization, which I think will be a conversation for another episode, maybe.
I understand that your mission is to be the bank, and what does that mean for ordinary investors and entrepreneurs that are listening to us right now?
Yeah, really simply. So as you highlighted, so we're in this 100-phase pre-sale that will start in 2 weeks. That means that you can invest as much or as little in our ecosystem and derive all of the benefit of crypto product, which is growing in value, with all of the certainty of investing in real estate. That's what it means. So you have the power to invest with the security of real world assets, backing what we are doing through purchasing our token. Simply put, you invest as much or as little as you want, and you're secured by real world assets that's all recorded on chain. Come to our website when we launch, and you'll see it, I'm sure. And then the choice is entirely up to you. But our model is all about providing the same opportunity that has until now really been available to professional, sophisticated investors, institutional investors, to anybody willing to partake in supporting us building out this ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So we are we're at Construct Coin with a K, so construct and coin with a K.com. And you will, thank you for the opportunity to say that, Construct Coin, K for coin.com.
Okay, that's you live at when?
We'll be live in 2
You
weeks.
live when?
Live in 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
2 weeks. We're live in 2 weeks.
Interesting stuff. So I'm going to let you go soon, but I have to put you through the Pacific Ring of Fire. That is the Quickfire round. So give me your answers in just 10 seconds. 10 seconds, please. So when we fast forward to 10 years from now, what impact do you hope that ConstructCoin makes in the global real estate and finance space?
Oh, well, we want to have contributed to the housing problem in the UK and to create a model that can be used elsewhere in the world.
Okay, there you go. And of course, what's the best business advice that you've ever received?
The journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first step. Take the step.
Oh, wow. We see that a lot in Nigeria. Okay, so what's one book that has changed your perspective on business or life?
Do you know what? Someone asked me this the other day, and there's this is the book that absolutely inspired me in my early teens. It's Victor Kiam, How to Be an Entrepreneur. Victor Kiam, he was the guy that bought Remington Razor in the late 70s. Victor Kiam, How to Be an Entrepreneur. That's the one.
Okay, we need to go grab that book. AI or blockchain, which one excites you more right now?
Oh wow, that's a really loaded question given where we are. But you know, which one excites me? Okay, do you know what? The possibilities in AI excite me, but I'm
And
motivated.
let's leave it like that because I am AI. Say no more. Say no more. Don't get AI upset. So, if you weren't building Construct Coin, what career would you be pursuing?
Oh wow, that's a rewind moment, and I can hear the clock ticking in the background.
Tick, tick, tick.
I'd probably still be in the military in some way, shape, or form, helping.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, it's been really, really great having you today. And of course, speaking of time, right? There's something I always say that an attitude of gratitude is good attitude. And of course, when somebody shares their time with you, they share their life with you because the SI unit for measuring life is time. And of course, love and respect to you for sharing your time with us today. And of course, to the audience, guys, go do the right thing. I've got Soldier Boy with me. If you don't share and like and comment on this episode, come on, the army is coming for you. We're not sending the police to you.
He really doesn't mean that. But by all means, share and subscribe, right? And comment. Tell us what you think. But no, it's been really good it's good to chat.
Absolutely, brother. Do you want to leave a shout out to anybody before you run?
Everybody that's starting their journey. That's my shout. Everybody that's starting the journey. The book is yet to be written. So just get started. And if you're sitting there wondering, just do. Just do. Embrace it. Go after it.
Just do it.
And enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Just do it.
Wow.
I really appreciate
it. Seems like you stole my line. I appreciate you, brother. You stole my line because I always say at the end of the podcast, right? Everybody go for something in your life, right? And of course, my buzzword, or my line is conceive, believe, strive to thrive, and of course, achieve.
I love that.
Of course, for me, it's goodbye. And of course, from the Soldier Boy, Chris, before Christ, it's goodbye.